With the new battery, because it's bigger, this L bracket to hold it down usually sits here, and then it sits on a bolt like literally like somewhere right here. Obviously that's not gonna work. So what I actually ended up finding was there's a hole here with like tape covering it. So I ripped off the tape on this hole, and it looks like there's another one here. So it kind of looks like that. You'll see like a square cutout of tape. And so we're just gonna, like, all I did was kind of poke my screwdriver in there and peel it up. I mean, you could use like a razor blade or just your fingers or whatever. And there are threads down here, and the nuts that came off of these seem to fit fine. So let me peel this off real quick. With that off, the tape, we can fit that there and this edge right there, and it lines up fine. We're gonna have this tie down right here where the two holes are as well, which is where this goes. And now normally this sits like this, and that's not gonna work. We're gonna have to flip it around so it sits like that here. And the tie down itself is too small of a width, so we'll probably have to run up to the store and see if we can find a universal one that'll fit on top of the Optima battery, and use the stock the stock little bracket here just in reverse to hold the top of the battery down. So it should look like that now. It's snugged up, looks good, it works out pretty good. That way you don't actually have to modify anything, and then all I'm gonna do is probably put a, can you hold that right there?
Yeah.
All I'm probably gonna do is find another bolt and put it in this hole, that way nothing comes up, and just for precautions, doesn't rust or whatever. So now I'm gonna undo what I just did, take the battery out and put this in, and then we'll go see if we can find a new bracket for the top. As for the battery tray itself, I don't really think we need it, but if you wanted to use it, and I might do this down the road, literally all you would have to do is cut all the edges off, sit it in place, and then just set the Optima battery on top. We still have room, like plenty of room to go higher, so that's not really a worry. So if you wanted to use the battery tray, you could. You would just have to cut all the edges off. So I've gone ahead and flipped this the opposite way, tightened those down. I just have this bolt loose on our new one. Went ahead and put the old bolt in the old hole. Gonna find another one, and then we'll throw the battery back in once we get the new tie down and hook it all up. Look at that little baby! Oh, so cute. Hey buddy. What we ended up doing with the battery is bought a piece of straight 1/4 inch steel pipe. I guess it's pipe, tube, whatever you want to call it. And Tyler did a little loop on this side, and then a hook on that side which goes in. So it kind of looks like the stock one. And then he looped around the battery. So what did you do, Tyler, to do the battery tie down?
Well, I just took the stock one and tried to make the measurements similar, which this is the first one I did that I messed up. But you just do something similar for the back end, and then I had to go outwards, but this one was too short, so I just redid it. But I would recommend starting with the loop first and then going out. Me, I don't measure, I just, oh yeah, I'll just make it, and then it never happens. So after measuring and everything, just got the length right, then started bending here and here to make sure that we get the curvature of the battery. That way once it's tied down, it holds it down completely. And then as far as bending it, threw it into a vise. And then I use this because I don't have an actual blowtorch. I mean, it works just as well as one. And I just heated it up. And once it was hot, just started pulling it. When it comes to bending it, the more leverage you have, the easier. But once it gets into the tighter bends, you're gonna have to just kind of press it up against something, pull it from there or whatnot. I ended up hitting it with a hammer, using an old screwdriver and using that to try and bend it around. Just do what you can. It's not gonna be easy, or at least it wasn't for me, speaking I've never done any of this.
But it's not that difficult either.
But yeah, it's not that difficult either.
It works better than something like this. This did not work at all. And with the old one being too short, this works out perfect. Like, this battery is literally not gonna go anywhere now. Even with me tugging on it. I did pick up these covers though as well, because the negative does sit up against this, and just to be precautious, I wanted to keep them covered. For this terminal, like I said earlier, I flipped it upside down so the bolt is facing outwards, so it's easier to get like an extension in there. And for the positive, I took the bolt out and turned it the other way so the nut was facing this way, so it's easier to get to. Other than that, everything looks pretty good on there. I don't have it hooked up now because we were having fuel pump issues. Surprise.
Yes.
And come to find out, we looked at it, we're like, why do we only have 2 volts going to the fuel pump? And the pressure would go up and then just go down to 0 when you started the car. And the car would stall out, obviously, because it didn't have any fuel. Got to thinking about it, and I was like, did I hook up the fuel pump wire correctly? No. What I ended up having to do was take the dash, everything back out, finding the hookup that I did originally with the fuel pump wire, running it all the way across and down to come to this side where the blue and red wire sits that goes directly to the fuel pump, and splicing it in right there. So now I just have to tidy all this up, and it does work now. That's the only issue we've had thus far that we know of. That fixed it. We got the fuel pressure regulator, I think it's adjusted correctly, but we'll probably look at it and adjust it again just in case. And yeah, so now I have to put everything back in the car, but the battery works great. The other one we had literally had no juice left. Like, it was terrible. And so I ended up going with the Optima. Fits in there real good, like I told you guys. I think it looks nice. Looks pretty factory. And I like the fact that I didn't have to really cut any holes. Speaking of cutting holes, the shifter upper boot. Remember I told you guys in the last video or 2 videos, I don't know, that it wouldn't go into 4th. And that was because, my gosh, camera. And that was because this got so cinched up right here, it literally wouldn't allow it to go into 4th gear. So basically what we're gonna have to do is set this back about 1 inch. Possibly. And we're gonna have to drill new holes. The only issue I just saw is that if we do that, there's a hole here. So I'm thinking I might actually flip this around and have the small part in front and the big part in the back. But I'll figure that out later. I'm not really worried about right now, I just have it loose so I can actually shift. Other than those issues right now, I'm gonna put everything back in, and then I think Tyler's gonna work on the catch pins possibly while I tidy up wires again.
That and then the exhaust.
It's becoming my favorite thing. And yes, early this week, probably by the time this video goes up, I don't even know, the car will be going to the exhaust shop. I'm really shooting to take this thing to the Orlando Ace Cafe. They do a Miata meet the 4th Monday, I believe it is, or the last Monday of the month, something like that. So I'm really shooting to be there at the end of October, as long as everything goes right. I'm really hoping the guys at the exhaust shop can knock this out. When I get to doing this, Tyler might be doing the catch pin.
Chelsea's AC in her car has never really been that great, specifically the blower motor in it. And one of the reasons is the old gasket or whatever that they used to use is just completely deteriorated. And this is supposed to fill the gap between two of them. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some new stuff, actually put it sticky side down against it, so it's not, I mean, I can stick it to it, but I'm not going to. And that way it completely seals it. That way when the fan motor is blowing, all the air is going out through the vents, not leaking through massive cracks and everything like that, because it was bad.
Not that it ever really worked, but
no, your
like cold air.
Your fan motor was just,
yeah,
it worked, but God, it was.
All this is just like truck bedding seal, basically, is what it's called, I think. It's just a simple weather strip. You can pretty much find this anywhere. It's actually really nice to have. I had a noisy BRZ license plate and I put some of this on the back of it. It worked out really good.
So I'm just taking a razor, just gonna trying to get off a lot of the, well, most of it really. And then once that's off, I'm gonna hit it with just a little bit of 60 grit sandpaper just to help get off a little bit more. You really want to bring it down to bare metal, but I have a feeling we're gonna end up taking this thing off again, which is why I'm not worried about it sticking. Try and prep it a little bit, get off a little bit more of that gunk that's on there.
And then throw it on the ground.
You gotta,
for good luck.
yeah, that's how you know it works. Start to peel this off. So this one, probably about to there. Of course, you should do it with this one as well. So I'm just gonna say, let's see here. Let's say there. And then start to put it into the car, and once you're there, trim it up to size.
This is what it ends up looking like. Pretty sealed. I mean, you can see it up here. Tyler said it sealed pretty good, so he wanted to do that. It was bothering him.
It's not even my car.
So, I mean, you can tell here how it has the little gap. And this one is worse for some reason. I don't know if it's like that on all of them, but on my cars specifically. But yeah, like I can fit my fingertip in there, so he just wanted to make sure everything was sealed up. So when we do have AC, it works good. Other than that, I've got all the wires back and ran. Put the ECU cover back on. That is a pain in the neck to put on. But it's in now, so after Tyler's done with this one, we're going to toss the dash back in and put everything back the way it was.